Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gingy podcast. My name is Gabe. Today we have a special episode for you. We're going live. We normally don't go live. We did in season 1. Season 2 we did pre-recorded, but going live for this special episode where we talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Spoiler free, of course. I know, me too. That's right. I don't. I feel like trailers nowadays, I think it's well known that trailers just like spoil everything. And mainly, I don't know, for this movie, I do watch trailers, some of them. But for this one, I just wanted to see what it would be like to not watch a trailer, considering I would consider this movie being full of surprises. So I didn't want any spoilers whatsoever because my brain could try to make up some things and then figure it out. So if I didn't watch at all, then I'd be fine. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's all about the journey. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, disclaimer, um, it was still ruined for me because of YouTube and all the stinking thumbnails. There were so many thumbnails that spoiled. Yeah. The worst part is like it's like someone's out there to really want to spoil it to you because they the thumbnail they used was like, the biggest reveal. Yeah. That's good. I like it. Yeah.
With Star Wars, with like Endgame, Infinity War, stuff like that, we always watch all the previous movies, uh, just so that it feels like a lead up right to the new movie kind of thing. And so, like we see uh, certain villains that were coming back, and I was like, well, let's watch the movies in which they're in. And so we were just like, let's just watch all of them. So we watched all of the Spider-Man movies, and I think the algorithm picked that up. And as soon as Spider-Man stuff comes up, it popped it up on my feed. And so that was a bit annoying, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, that's the problem. Like I knew there was no way for me to avoid. The funny part was like there was we watch we have the streaming service Peacock, and sometimes they play ads intermittently with our episodes that we watch.
Yeah.
And then it would show like Spider-Man trailers. Like you can't avoid it. You just can't avoid it. And so it'd come on and you can't skip it. So I'd be downstairs just like la 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 la, closing my ears, looking away to try to not get it spoiled for me. But that's how it
Yeah,
is.
that's annoying. I actually didn't see it. We don't watch TV. We don't get a lot of, TV spots or anything like that. But because I watched the trailer every time there was a new TV spot, like
Yeah.
the 15-30 second ones,
Yeah.
it would pop up on my newsfeed on YouTube. And so YouTube was my biggest downfall. And I've learned my lesson to just stay away from that. Maybe I just need two accounts.
The funny thing is that I haven't actually seen any trailers yet. Even after
Oh,
the movie, I
you
just haven't
still
seen
haven't
it.
seen the trailer?
Yeah. No time.
They're like
No
they're
time.
2 minutes long. They're 2 minutes long. You should just watch them.
I
Uh,
should.
okay. Anyway, should we move on to our thoughts?
Yes, yes, yes. Uh, yeah, let's do it. What do you think of the
Okay.
movie?
Well, uh, I, I this I'm out of words. Really, it was just so good. It was so good. And here's my thought. Knowing what I knew before watching it,
Yeah,
and also side note, when I got the tickets for our showing, because we went together, we went on a Friday morning, like the Friday after, right? Like 3 days ago. Um, they announced when tickets were gonna go on sale. And I was like, I'm not even trying to go to the premiere night or anything like that. I just wanted to go to a normal early morning with like fewer people um, showing. And Cinemark, AMC, and Megaplex, all three sites were crashed at
oh
midnight.
my
So, because
goodness.
we got our
Okay.
tickets like at midnight because we wanted good seats just in case, right? But yeah, I think it took us about 30-35 minutes to get our tickets. So I was like, okay. I'm like, I don't know if it was this chaotic with Infinity War. But I didn't buy the tickets, but for Infinity War back in the day, but I don't recall my friends having a hard time getting our tickets. So I was like, okay, so a lot of people are anticipating this. I'm anticipating this. Um, there's a lot of theories floating around that were floating around for like a whole year, speculating of what's gonna happen because Far From Home left us with a big like cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Um, and then with all the Disney Plus shows, there's a lot of like strong hints, and people are like, "Oh, well, if this happens here, then this is gonna happen over here, right?" Okay, so there's all these theories that I have in my head, but I'm like, "Hey, it's a Spider-Man movie. It's a solo movie to an extent. Um, I'm like, I'm just gonna enjoy it for what it is." And so I went expecting some sort of disappointment. I went in expecting to have a couple of things that maybe I wouldn't be like totally okay with. An example, um, I didn't like that in Homecoming and Far From Home, the two villains are more Tony Stark's villains
That's
that just
true.
get annoyed by Peter Parker and therefore they become his villains. So those are things that I didn't really. I mean, I'm not hating on the characters or anything like that. I think they did a great job with both villains, but the setup for them, it was like, well, they're not really Peter's
Yeah.
things, right? Villains. So I'm grabbing that. I'm grabbing what I know from before. I'm like, there's gonna be something here that I may not like as much, but because I like Tom Holland and I like his version of Spider-Man, which is completely different to the previous two. Um, I was just prepared for some sort of disappointment and low key with high expectations, but mostly waiting for that disappointment. And I came out happier than I could have ever imagined. It surpassed everything I wanted in a Spider-Man movie. It
Yeah.
was just simply phenomenal, and like the moment it began, my heart was just pounding the whole time. I don't know if you experienced the same thing, but my heart was just like boom, 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 boom. And the movie ends, and my heart's still pounding, and I still had this like, not like bad anxiety, but I had this like my spidey senses were
Your Gato
continuing.
tingle.
My Gato tingle, dude. Like they continued like they're still kind of there. I still see things related to Spider-Man and I'm just like, "Oh, I just want to know what people think. I want to know what people have to say. I want to dissect this movie now because there's literally nothing I can think of that I'm like, well, this is not great, you know? Like
Yeah.
everything about that movie is great to me. It like I've heard this opinion before, like from a video I watched yesterday, and this is my same opinion. But anybody that says that superhero movies or that Marvel is not cinema, go watch this movie and tell me that this is not cinema, because this is what cinema is all about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm done with my opinion. What about you? What did you think?
I enjoyed the movie. I loved it. It was really good. I feel like everything that was missing, that I think majority of viewers were thinking there was missing in the first and second Marvel Spider-Man movies, is present in the third one. I don't like. I felt like, and there was moments where like they knew. It's like they were reading my brain because as I was watching the movie, and there was moments I was like, they need to address this, and then literally a couple seconds later they
And
talk about it,
they would.
right?
Yeah.
It was weird because I was like, oh, they didn't do this, and then I was like, oh, there it is, all of a sudden, and then
Eh,
like, oh, they should talk about this, and then boom, all of a sudden they're talking about it. You're like, wow, that's.
mhm.
I don't know whether to be impressed or to be kind of creeped out by that,
It's like Google, it's like listening, right?
right?
Uh, yeah, I think I felt so many emotions throughout this movie.
Yeah,
Um, and like I feel like the pacing was just so perfect. Everything from like the moment it begins all the way until like the after credit was like it was a good paced movie. Uh, the character development is
Oh, there's a lot
superb.
of it.
There's so much, and it's not rushed. It's not
Yeah.
all just kind of like packed here and say like here you go. It's it's very well managed. It was a very well directed movie. The acting on everybody, everybody did such a good job with the roles, and mm, mm.
It's
I just can't wait to go see it again.
yeah, like they managed to fit so much, and it, it didn't feel forced or like rushed,
Yes.
which is strange because at the same time I couldn't help but be critical, but like to think about it. And given the constraints they had, given the fact that it's a 2 hour, 3 hour movie, and you can't fit everything in there, they did pretty well in addressing everybody and fitting in jokes. And it was just a really enjoyable movie for me. Like there
Mhm.
were so many moments I was like clapping, so many moments I was like just excited because it was just there's a lot of fan service. I will say that.
Yeah, but so here's something that I will say. Um, it's not this is not a spoiler. I promise it's not a spoiler. But something that I realized is that John Watts, the director of the last of these three Spider-Man movies, I honestly like his directing style like a lot. Um, I think it adds a different type of vibe to specifically Spider-Man's character, and it's interesting to see the evolution in his directing style and how big of a turn in his way of directing took with No Way Home. Like if you look at Homecoming, um, you have a very young Peter Parker that's still learning about himself, and it's a very lighthearted movie, really. Like if you look at it, there's not a lot of actual fight sequences. There's just him trying to solve a problem in the movie, right? Something that he just kind of got himself involved in.
Yeah.
Um, when Far From Home comes, uh, it's a little more action packed. It's a little bit more serious. It's a bit of a bigger scale. You know, it's an Avengers level threat, as Mysterio says. Um, but it's still like the tones of the movie are still light. The coloring is light. The characters are light. I don't know if that is making sense or not, but it just feels it still feels like a juvenile movie, so to speak. And then you get thrown into No Way Home, and it's this like the what happens at the end of Far From Home, the way it affects Peter's life is serious. It's more serious than he imagined, and you can tell it. You can tell the tone of this movie with everything, and that's what impresses me about this movie. Now going back to the fan service thing, yes, there's a lot of fan service. There's a lot of true storytelling, a lot of true character development and character arcs. Um, but there's a difference because, and I'm gonna compare this to Star Wars. Okay, when the Last Jedi came out, and like half of the fan base hated the movie. I probably was more than half, than 50% of the fans. So people complain about the movie and they start nitpicking at it, and it's very vocal. Like everybody knows why this movie was hated. And so
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams comes back and he's like, okay, let's listen to everything they're complaining about and let's just fix it for them. And so when Rise of Skywalker comes out, there's a lot of it feels like um it feels like damage control. It's like, oh, Last Jedi messed up really bad. Let's just reverse everything all over again because The Last Jedi reverses a lot of the things from the previous movie.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like it you get like whiplash from what's going on
Going
in
back
this
and
in
forth.
the Mhm.
Yeah.
And the fan service is there, but it's very shoved in your face. It's like saying, okay, you want to do this? Or you want to see this? Here you go.
Yeah,
Hey, you don't like this character? Well, there you go. They're in the background now. Hey, you want to see more of that? Here you go. So like, there's a lot of. It feels very, yeah, just
it's
in your
not
face.
like it wasn't tied in to the movie.
Hmm.
Like it was just thrown in because to make people happy, not
Yeah,
for the sake
eh,
of the story.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it felt rush, it felt push, and it failed.
yeah.
This movie, I feel like it listens to the fan base, and I feel like they were like, "Well, here you go," and it's a delicacy. It's so amazing, no pun intended. The way they show you the story,
Yeah, yeah.
um, it's just so graceful, and it's like it has everything, everything you wanted and more.
It's crazy because even if you didn't watch uh some movies, um they still manage to explain why things are happening, why they still manage to fit backstories in there. You know, it's like a really good, like you said, delicacy. It has everything you need. You can watch it
Mhm.
isolated, somewhat isolated, because you still need to watch like the first Homecoming and the other ones. But
It's like it's got a sense of what's her name?
hmm,
What am I trying to think of here? Um, like J.K. Rowling.
yeah,
Uh, in the books,
yeah,
uh, when you start reading the second book and the third book and the fourth book and so on, she actually does a really good job at referring back to the previous books to give you context to what's going on in this book.
yeah.
So, like, if there's something that happens in the first book that suddenly has something to do with the seventh book, she does a really good job at explaining and going back to, because if you remember in like when Harry was younger, then this would happen, and so now this is happening because of that. Like, it doesn't feel, again, it doesn't feel forced or out of place. It's a very graceful way of sorry, my cat just jumped off the desk. Um, it's a very graceful way of giving you information, um, so that it makes sense.
Yeah, I think
And
yeah,
that's the thing, like, I feel like it explores everything that's happened before, and it brings it back without it being too
they give you
jarring.
what you need to know in that moment without
Mhm.
overloading you. Because
Yes.
I think the scenes go fast. I'll admit there's some scenes that go pretty fast because they still have to fit in kind of all the stuff they need to, but at the same time they give you the enough context that it doesn't overload you and it doesn't confuse you, and you could still enjoy the scene.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Even if you're not a Spider-Man fan, even if you haven't seen anything related to Spider-Man, I dare you to go watch this movie without any context and tell me that you didn't like it or that you didn't understand it, because I bet you can't.
right. I think even if you weren't aware of the other movies, you'd still be entertained because it's not like you need to know about it. It's a nice like icing on top to know about the other movies. But like it was really enjoyable. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um I held Spider-Man 2
Which one? We
as
need to like figure out a way to
okay.
talk about Spider-Man. 1.1,
So
1.2.
s- so the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire.
Okay.
Spider-Man 2, I used to hold that as like my third favorite movie. My second favorite movie was Homecoming with Tom Holland. And
Okay.
my all-time favorite Spider-Man movie was actually Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales. Uh, Having rewatched all of the movies, I actually bumped Homecoming out of the top three.
Hmm.
And then it was like my number one was still Into the Spider-Verse. My number two is Spider-Man 2 with Toby. And my number three was Far From Home. And the reason Far From Home suddenly became like my one of my favorites is because I actually went and looked up um Mysterio's actual origins and what villain he is, and then I realized that his character as a whole is actually very well represented in Far From Home. And so I just really, really like that. And it just kind of opened my eyes and I was like, oh, like I've had this wrong impression that Mysterio was supposed to be like some super galactic person with like mind powers, when in reality Mysterio is he works in a movie set and he uses like special effects from movies to trick Spider-Man. And so like what? And so looking at Mysterio in the number two, in Far From
Ah,
Home,
okay. I
it
always
makes
wondered
sense
about
that
that.
he is who he is. And I'm like, oh, like he's actually a really good villain. And the way he does it is like, it's actually it's pretty close to what he really should be.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that in this universe, in this MCU universe, he would be the way that he is. Um, Having watched No Way Home, No Way Home is now my number two. It's still
Wait,
under
what's your
Into the
number one
Spider
again?
Verse.
Spider-Verse is number one?
Yes.
Wow.
Have you seen
Wow.
that?
Yeah, that was a good one too. I
You
like
don't
how
like
they
it?
even talked about the previous Spider-Mans in that one because of the multiverse.
I know it makes fun of it.
Yeah.
It makes fun of Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, and
Yeah,
I think it makes fun of all of them.
it does.
So,
It would
but
have been
yeah,
crazy if they had Spider Pig in that one, right?
what?
Spider Pig in the new one. Like part of me
Uh,
expected that to be there. I'm not
to
sure
have
that's really a spoiler. I don't know how they would fit that into the movie.
yeah, I don't know. No, there's yeah, No Way Home is definitely top tier.
Yep.
It's really
Entertaining.
it's huh?
Like I don't know how Marvel is gonna top this. I thought they peaked with Endgame, right? And they're like, man, how do you beat that? And then all of a sudden, No Way Home comes out, and you're like, wow, that was just as good, if not better.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's a
mean,
different sense of excitement because Endgame had this big build up, and then you had like movies interacting with each other or franchises, and then now you have this new one, which is different eras of movies interacting with each other.
yeah, it was. Oh man, there's just so much. There's so much that I want to talk about, and we can't because we don't
Yes.
want to spoil it for all of you that haven't seen this movie. Um,
For those viewers watching, tell us what you think of the movie. Tell us your comments or questions that you have. Also, subscribe and like this video. We will be talking spoilers in a later video with our good friend Connor.
that's right.
We've had him on the podcast before, but stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, guys, go see the movie so that we can talk about it
Yeah.
because I need to talk to everyone about it.
Should we talk about? Okay, let's be fair in this review. What were some of the things that you didn't like about it?
Uh, I would have to say my main complaint about this movie is that it wasn't long enough.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And I'm not complaining. I'm not saying that it felt short. I'm just saying that I wanted more of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like give me all the deleted scenes and go
An
film like
extended
more
version.
in between. Yeah, film an extended version. Give it to me, please, because that this movie was just so good. Do I have any other complaints? No. I that's the thing is like I can't think of anything that I didn't like about the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
I've looked at um posts on Reddit talking about the movie, and
Yeah.
I've seen some people complain about it heavily, and I even saw one that is a very long comment explaining everything that they didn't like about it, and they're like picking at like plot holes and stuff like that.
Mm.
But the thing is, like having so I watched it twice already. Um, all of those plot holes, they're not plot holes. They just didn't listen. Either one, they were too distracted by everything else, or two, people were screaming too loud during specific things happening throughout the movie that kind of cover up why things happened or didn't happen.
Mm,
Because I remember all of these things that this person was complaining about, and when I went and watched it a second time, uh, they're all answered. All of his complaints, they have an explanation for it. Just like you said, like when you have a question and then it just kind of like they answer it right after.
yeah.
Uh, and I'm like, this guy has like he's only looking to complain. Like he's just complaining to for the sake of complaining. Uh, is it a perfect movie? Close, but no, it's not. And I'm sure there is plot holes. And in fact, I do know of a couple that we can talk about when we do the spoiler review with Connor.
Yeah.
But but I mean, what movie doesn't have a plot hole?
Oh yeah. I mean, I love Tenet, but there was just so many. Even then, I can bring up some issues if you really look for it, and if you
Yeah,
don't think of it as a movie as an entertainment piece, then yeah, you're gonna find problems with it.
yeah. What about you? Do you have any complaints?
Yeah,
Spoiler-free complaints?
there were
You
some
do?
issues with that I had. If I wanted to nitpick, if I wanted to find problems, I had some problems with it. But as a disclaimer, and I'll explain my disclaimer on that. I think partly the way the movie starts, the way everything happens, just seems kind of like, oh, this is happening. Okay, yeah, whatever. Just it's okay. It's like the way everything happens just seemed very shallow. If that's the word. It's more. It's like this is happening and you're gonna accept it. It was like kind of at the same time. How do you make a movie about the subject matter without talking about what's gonna happen and how it happens? And so that was like that's kind of my as I was watching, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is just they have to explain this because this is how they're gonna move the plot forward. So in my mind, I was like, all right, that's believable. That's good enough for me. It's not that it detracts from the movie. It was just given the constraints, given what they had to do with the movie they wanted to make, you had to do that, right?
Mhm. Okay.
And it's not a problem. It's just because if because on the other hand, if they try to make it more complex or more convoluted, then it would have been confusing. It would have been a mess. It would take longer to get to the exciting parts of the movie, and then
Mhm.
you have this 4 hour movie that doesn't is like spend an hour explaining how they got to where they are. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I agree. For the time that they had, I feel like it was
Yeah,
necessary to kind of move things along. But again, even with that being said, I still feel like the overall pacing of the movie was perfect.
yeah.
So,
There were moments where it got and it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad. There was moments where I was like, oh, this is the part where we just relax. This is the part where the movie takes a break before it gets exciting again. There was moments in the movie where I was like, okay, I was like understanding what part of the beat we were in the movie, and it was aware because of I guess some of the timing pacing, which I didn't have a problem with because in that moment you needed more character development.
yeah.
And I was aware that we needed more character development. So I was
Yeah.
aware we were in this like kind of lull, not lull, but more of like a quiet part of the
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah, yeah. It definitely lets you breathe.
right?
And I think that was really good. I think um you were able to breathe at the right parts.
Exactly. So it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, if you're aware of that in a movie, does that make it a bad movie? I don't know. Like if you're in a point of a movie where it takes you out of the movie, is it a bad movie? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Um, but yeah, because with the moment I started thinking about that, and then something happened on screen, like funny dialogue, I was like, totally, I forgot about it, and I was like back in the movie. So it
Yeah.
wasn't, it was, I was aware of certain things, um, but it doesn't detract from the movie, which goes back to the whole like, were they reading my mind? Like I couldn't help but think they definitely had a test audience. They had a test audience. They probably tested this movie like 10 times and read the notes of the people saying, oh, this part needs to have this part. This needs to be explained. So like, okay, took that feedback, filmed it, and then it was like, it felt very like they knew exactly. It's like not a bad thing. It's like when you see a Google ad, right? And you know why it's there because you typed in something or you searched something. And you know it was like, you know the behind the scenes. So that's what was kind of happening in this movie. It's like, oh, they're addressing this because I'm sure someone said we need to address this. And it was great because then I wasn't like I wasn't bummed because I was like they didn't talk about it because they met every exact need that at least that I had in the movie. And it was great. So it's not really a bad thing, but at the same time, you're aware of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
But that's a movie. That's what movies do.
Yeah, it's a movie. Like in
Yeah.
all seriousness, like I love this movie. I
Yeah.
love it so much, and I'm so excited to see uh like everything that's coming next. You know, like we have Doctor Strange coming out next. We have Thor coming next. Like I'm if Marvel was able to pull this off with this character and making it so much better than well I mean, maybe. I am even willing to say that it was a better movie than Endgame. Um,
I got
but
so
if
many chills during this movie. There
yeah,
were so
yeah,
many chills.
there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's all good stuff. And your feels just go all over the place,
The
up and down,
music.
up and down, up and down. The
Do you know what
music
I'm
is
talking about?
amazing. Yeah,
Do you know that
yeah,
there's a certain stinger, a certain piece of the music they used? And I was like, oh man, that was perfect. Perfect time to
yeah.
use that song.
Yeah, they do so well with everything.
Yeah.
It makes me excited for what's to come. And this is stupid because well, it's not stupid, but it is. When we were talking about Loki in the
Yeah.
season finale
Yeah.
last season one, uh, both Connor and I, and I think you as well, we were all in agreement that we're hoping. Well, I'm hoping that it doesn't get too out of control where you have so much that you need to like look for and watch and everything is interconnected so you need to see this to understand that kind of thing, you know,
Yeah.
like it gets a little too out of control. I know Connor thinks that that is in fact going to happen, and he said that he wanted to just to get by this movie and then he would be able to relax a bit. um and I was kind of under the same uh thought process of like, well, I just want to make it through No Way Home and then I can relax a bit. But the truth is, having watched No Way Home, now I'm like excited to see
Yeah.
what else is gonna come. Like now
Right?
I wanna watch more. And
It kind of reignites your excitement for the whole
y-
Marvel
y-
universe.
yeah, dang it, Marvel, you're doing a good job. I I I hate to admit it, I really do,
Yeah.
because I wish they started to chill, you know, come down and be like, all right, let's just let it be for a while and maybe we'll do something later on. But no, they did a really good job, and now I just want more, like crack. It's
Demonetized.
Marvel crack. No, are we not allowed to say that? No, we
I
can
don't
say
know.
crack because, like, you know, we can talk about crack screens and
Butt
butt
cracks.
cracks.
Demonetized again.
Dang it!
No, I think
Uh,
yeah, I'm excited again. Knowing the ending of Loki and then seeing
WandaVision 2
yeah, and all that stuff. I was like, man,
and What If?
I haven't seen that yet. We started watching Hawkeye
Oh,
last night. That was pretty good.
dude, y- but you never saw What If,
That's on our list to watch. Is it
bro?
did I miss some stuff because I didn't watch that?
Yeah.
What? Oh snap. Bummer.
We'll talk about it after we're offline, but yeah, there's some things in What If that definitely help.
Shoot. Hmm. Yeah, we'll probably watch that probably after Hawkeye.
Yeah, do it. It's good. It's honestly a good show. It feels kind of weird at first, just kind of like WandaVision did.
Yeah.
Um, The last like 2, 3 or 2 episodes are fantastic.
Of Hawkeye or what if?
What if?
Okay, all right, all right. I did see the trailer. It looks interesting.
Mhm.
The whole, I mean, now that we're in the subject of multiverse and alternate realities, should be good to watch.
The way it explores uh all these alternate realities is yeah. I mean because I don't want to spoil it for you actually, and if somebody that's watching this hasn't seen it, I also don't want to spoil it for them. But yeah, I recommend it.
Okay, okay, all right. I'll give it a go. We're already on episode 3 of Hawkeye, so
Okay. So there's I think the season finale for Hawkeye is this Wednesday. Um
oh wow.
yeah. There's only 6 episodes. It's a short show. But I'm excited for it. I'm really really excited for it. Uh,
What did you guys think of Far From Home or No Way Home? Tell us what you
yeah,
think.
if you've seen it, yeah, if you've seen it, give us your thoughts on it. Spoiler free, please.
Yeah. Oh man.
And again, we'll do the spoiler review soon.
Should I talk about how my experience was without watching trailers? What should we
Oh
say on
yeah.
that? I think given the fact that I didn't watch the trailers for the movie, I don't know if it really changed my I think it's because I didn't know. I was excited. But the problem is that because of all the thumbnails, I knew what was coming. I knew what villains were going to be there. I knew what characters were going to be there. But when I saw the movie, it wasn't as exciting because of the spoilers. I wonder if I had watched the trailers anyway, it would have been the same effect. But um, I think it was exciting because there was no scene to expect. Does that make sense? Like, you know, when you see a trailer, you're like, oh, I'm expecting to see this scene coming up, or you recognize the scene it's at, and you're like, okay, this is the part where I'm gonna see this part of the trailer. Didn't have any of that, and no idea where the movie was going. It was kind of
Yeah.
exciting because I was like, there were certain parts where I was like, whoa, this I did not expect to see this again. You know, and that was pretty exciting. I wish I could talk about it. I really wish I could, but I
Yeah,
don't want to
don't
give
we all?
spoilers.
But soon we'll do the other one with Connor soon. And I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I want to
Truly
hear
am,
his
truly am.
thoughts.
I do too. I'm like he did a review on a different movie last night, and I saw his like I saw the active story on Instagram. I was like, he saw it. I'm like, I want to know what it is, and he was reviewing the Santa or
Oh, the Claws movie.
Claus, yeah, and he gave it a good rating too. So
Yeah,
now I'm
might have to check
uh,
that one out.
I want to go check it out. Yeah, but yeah, it wasn't Spider Man, but I'm really excited to see what he has to say about this. So
What'd you think of
we'll
how they
find out.
handled the backstory of Peter Parker?
I
Without
can't
the-
talk about it. I can't talk about it without spoiling anything.
I thought it was creative. I will say it was creative. The way they did his backstory was different, but it was
Mhm,
creative. Like
mhm,
it still hit the same story beats. And like I was said in the
mhm.
beginning, everything that was missing that I feel like majority of people thought was missing in the first and second Spider-Man movies is present in the third movie. And I think they
Yeah,
did a pretty good job.
absolutely. Like they really did. It was just yeah.
Once
It
again,
was
given
just
though,
a good story. Oh my
to be
god.
balanced as a review, to be balanced, given what the constraints they had, they did a good job. Was it my favorite way of doing it? It was good. Not my favorite, but it was good. And they had to do it because it was related to things that happened later in the movie. And it connected well because it, you know,
Mhm, mhm,
is that
mhm, mhm.
spoilery? Did I spoil it?
I don't know. I don't know because the thing is like I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
I can't.
You have a
I don't
counterpoint?
I don't want to do no. I don't want to do what theories do,
Hmm.
where you're giving context to an idea that connects the dots.
Okay.
If that make I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
that's how I feel. So it's
There's
like
there's only
I
so
understand.
much hints it can give before it actually starts, but just from a creative writing standpoint, I think given the constraints they had, uh, it was pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah.
If you go into the movie knowing that it's not going to be like A Beautiful Mind or stuff like that, it's a good movie. You know, like I
It's
think it probably wasn't as deep, but it doesn't need to be. You know, like there was a lot of. I'll admit there was in the first and second movies. There's a lot of themes they touched on, but if they tried to touch it on in this new movie, it would have just been way too messy. Way too messy.
well, now I don't know what you're talking about.
um, like
Wait, but is this gonna spoil it?
nah, it probably will. I'm just talking about the themes. There's certain themes, kind of deeper Spider-Man themes that they didn't need to talk about in the third one. I'm not saying it would have been nice to see it, but like I said, I'm aware of the constraints they had. And they did a pretty good job. Like as the film by itself is great. Great.
Mhm. Yeah, agreed,
And which is
100%.
great because it sets I feel like this sets up um the movie for even more movies that can address those uh, topics without being mixed up and intermingled um, with Far From Home or No Way Home. Does that make sense? You get it?
I think so. I think so. I think so. I think I know. I think I get it now.
Oh man, I hope I'm making sense.
I'm sure if people have seen the movies, I'm sure they will understand what's going on.
Yeah,
And if you haven't seen the movie, just I mean, if you want to come back after you watch the movie and give us well, no, just don't come back. Just let us know when we do the next one.
I think
Come on.
a summary: if you go into this movie knowing that you will be entertained, that's all you need to know. You will be entertained.
Yeah, yeah, you will.
If Russell Crowe goes there and says, "Are you not entertained?" you will say, "You are wrong. I was entertained."
Yeah. uh,
Oh
well
man.
then, well then.
Oh man.
There's not much more I can say without spoilers. So
I'm mad you want to spoil.
I've reached my limit of review of spoiler free review. So
Oh man. Guys, if you have any questions, let us know that we can talk about. Because I think there's a lot of good stuff that we can talk about without spoiling it. Maybe talking about as the Marvel, like Gato said, he was excited about the whole Marvel aspect of what this movie will introduce. I think it was also, I don't know if it's also a spoiler. Should I talk about it?
no,
The whole, okay, because this is behind the scenes, right?
but is it though? Is it
No, no,
though?
no, no, listen. We're talking about Sony and Disney. Is that the,
It
if
can be.
we,
It could be. It could be.
could it?
It could be a spoiler.
Really?
Yes, it can. I believe that it can be a spoiler. So let's.
Okay, we'll save that one. I mean, it's just the politics. It's not, has nothing to do with the movie.
But it goes back to giving too many hints that people will connect the dots,
Yeah.
and that's the only thing I'm worried about.
I
So
feel like
let's.
my go to quote this whole podcast, this episode is given the constraints they were given. They did a great job.
I just, my opinion is they did a good job
Yep.
overall.
Yep.
The movie is excellent. The movie is awesome. High, low expectations doesn't matter. They're gonna be better than what you expect. Whatever
There's
you're
gonna be
expecting, it's better,
Yep.
and and you're gonna have fun. Uh, bring your popcorn with you, and not a lot of. Don't drink water unless
Oh my gosh.
you have a big bladder, because I this is a movie I recommend that you don't take any
Yeah,
breaks.
don't drink soda.
It has a lot of information throughout the entire movie. Um,
By the end of the movie, I needed to go pee so bad. But
I
I
think we all
couldn't
did.
because the nature of the Marvel, they always have secret stuff at the ending. Hopefully that doesn't
Yeah.
spoil. That's kind of a given,
No.
right? That's given.
Yeah.
That's a given.
Marvel has. So this one has two end credit scenes: the mid credit scene and the post credit scene. So um, make sure you stick around to see both of them.
Yeah.
Um,
How
yeah.
about okay, I will say this. And we talked about it at lunch after. Talking about how I kind of regret not watching it with an audience. Because I feel like the experience wasn't as joyous as it could have been if I watched it with an audience.
So okay, so here's my counterpoint.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Okay.
Only sort of. So we went and watched this movie. Excuse me, Friday morning, because uh, so I'm the one that picked the time of the day, because I wanted to watch the movie without people screaming. Because when I went to see Star Wars and Infinity War and Endgame and all of those movies, people pop in the screen. Your favorite character pops in the screen, or they say something, or something happens, like an action, and people lose it.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I lose it too, right? We get hyped for the movie. We scream, we applaud, we jump, we throw our popcorn in the air. Um, but the problem I see with this is that the movie doesn't stop for you. The movie continues, and sometimes there's things that are said right after the action, or things that happen right after the action that gets you excited, that are important to the story. And if you're watching it for the first time and you're trying to absorb as much as you want, and then something happens, and everybody starts screaming, you get distracted, you don't pay attention to what's going on the screen, or you can't listen to what they're saying on the screen.
Yeah.
And it could potentially like leave that plot hole for you, where you're like, wait, but why did this happen? It's because you didn't listen.
You're
Um,
too excited. Too
yeah,
busy
too much
screaming.
excitement. So that's the reasoning behind why I wanted to go
Yeah.
to a Friday morning where there's like literally only 20 people in the theater. Um, and it was great. I felt like I enjoyed it. I feel like my reactions and the reactions of the people sitting next to me were appropriate based on what was going on the screen, and that was enough for me. There was definitely some like light gasps and yes and oh and 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 it was good. It was really good. Um, Now, listening to your counterpoint and you wishing that you had gone with an audience, I understand why you would want to go to an audience, because there's so much going on here that is watching a movie with a big crowd it enhances the experience, because
You're
you're in
sharing
sync.
it with
Yeah,
other
you're
people.
sharing it. You're in
Yeah.
sync with the rest of the
Yeah.
people watching this movie. Um, and to a certain extent, I do want to go see it with a full theater of people that haven't seen it yet, and I want to be there with them. I want to experience that with them as well. But at the same time, I feel like I was right in watching it first without the audience, mostly because I have a friend that did go on Thursday night, and
Yeah.
he shared a video with me, and then I've seen other videos also online of reactions to things happening, and people lose it. And like I'm watching this video and all you hear is screaming and stuff like that. And I'm looking at the screen and people are talking,
Oh
but
man.
nobody knows what they said because everybody's still excited about what happened a few seconds before. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you totally missed out a joke. You missed out an important part of the story. And um man, it's just I guess there's two ways to look at it. One, you can watch the movie fresh for the first time with no interruptions and you just enjoy the movie. Or you go to the movie with a lot of people, expect that you're gonna miss on a lot of things, and then go and watch it again with less people.
No, yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not hating on people that like to do that and do that on purpose. For this movie specifically, I personally just wanted to go experience it in a more quiet environment where I could absorb as much as I could from the movie. Um, but when you made that comment and after seeing some of the things and how people scream, and me having seen it twice already in quiet theaters, I would be more than happy to go to a full theater and
Yeah.
experience everybody
I
else.
think that's the problem. You have to choose, like you said. You can't have a very good experience where you can understand the movie, hear all the dialogue, and not have people screaming. Or you can have screaming at the same time. You can't have it. So, in my experience, I'm glad we did watch an early morning because I'm the type of movie watcher that I don't like hearing interruptions or people that they're talking, whatever, because it was quiet. It was great. There's
Mhm.
no other people talking. You could hear everything. No plot holes, as all these people were saying, because they weren't listening. Um, so that's why I say like I kind of regret because you could still watch it again and then have the same experience. Maybe not like the first time experience, but you can still have the screaming and all that stuff. Because they do have like videos of
Yeah.
people watching the end game and all that.
Mhm. I've seen some of those. I
Yeah,
like them, and I was there with
yeah,
them
yeah,
at some point. I think there's something. It's a very conflicting part of how I enjoy movies because part of it is like I want to be able to have my own reaction and experience to it, like a very pure and true to myself
yeah,
reaction to things happening in a movie. Um, and I feel like when you go with a hype crowd, it almost, and I'm not saying it does that it's 100% this, but it has a hint of like a laugh track. You know, that you
yeah.
have
Okay, yeah,
you
yeah,
have you
yeah,
have comedy TV shows, and they say jokes, and then they throw the laugh track, and then it's that's your cue to react,
yeah.
right? It's meant to make you think, oh, this is a funny part. You should laugh along with this, and you do. But if there was no laugh track, would you have laughed? Like, was it legitimately a funny joke to you?
Yeah.
And this is actually one of the reasons why I enjoy shows like New Girl and Community. Um what's the other one that I like? It's Always Sunny. Like shows like that. They're comedies, and if you're laughing because what you're seeing and what they're doing is actually funny to you. Nobody's telling you this is a funny joke and you need to laugh now. It's it's just funny storytelling. And so I feel like going with a big crowd, that has a bit of an effect on you as
Yeah.
well. I think the hype is the energy in the room is so high that if like 40% of the people get excited over something going on the screen and the other 60% are like, whatever, but this 40% is really loud, eventually that 40% turns into 80%, and then you being in the last 20%, you're like, oh yeah, this is an exciting moment, yeah, and then it's like, was that really true? Like, were you really excited, or were you just pulled into the crowd,
Influenced.
yeah, influenced by
Yeah.
the crowd mentality? uh
No, I
and I'm
totally
sorry, I'm
agree.
getting a little philosophical here,
No,
but
no, no,
like
no.
that's really the
I
reason
feel like
why.
we need to have a separate podcast on this because I had this same conversation with Brittany on the way to somewhere I forgot, but it was like the same aspect you were talking about, like laugh track. Like
Hmm.
if we were watching Everybody Loves Raymond, funny
Hmm.
show, love that show.
Yeah.
And if we watch that show without the laugh track, it's kind of weird. it's weird to watch it without laughter. Like it belongs there because you know they're acting in front of an audience, and then you have these awkward pauses where the actors are taking because they're trying to wait for the laughter to end, and it kind of helps time kind of the dialogue, stuff like that. But I'm wondering, like I said, if it's influencing the viewers to laugh at the same time, conditioning them to think, "Oh, this is funny," and stuff like that. But to me, if it's just weird. I don't know. I feel like we need to talk about it another time.
Yeah, this is a good topic. This is a really good topic, and I agree. I think we should revisit it at some point.
Yeah.
Next season, season 3,
Yeah. I don't know
season
if
3 coming 2022.
yeah, season 3. I can't believe it. I don't know if viewers. I don't know if you noticed by now we haven't talked about. This is where the review portion has ended. But thank you for joining us since season 1 and 2. This is season
Yeah,
3 now.
yeah. We do have some viewers. Thank you all for watching. Like I appreciate you giving us your time, and I mean, hopefully you're liking our content. Uh, it seems like it since if you're coming back. So I appreciate you all. Um, and like we always ask, like don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Give us your thoughts. We love comments. So we get some of them via text, which is fine. Um, but leave the comments on our videos. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I know it's a little bit harder. If you're feeling passionate enough to leave us a comment on the YouTube channel, go ahead and do that. We would greatly appreciate it because then we're able to see a little bit more of like what you guys are thinking, whether you agree or disagree with our thoughts on whatever matters we're talking about. So, um, but even if you don't and you're just here to listen to us talk about whatever, thank you anyway for joining us and being with us throughout this last year of craziness.
I know, right? Yeah, this is our semi last episode for the season. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
we
joining
have
us.
one episode coming out later tonight.
Will it be tonight?
Yeah, I'll be yeah. It's
Late
in the
night?
works right now. Yeah, it'll be late night. And I apologize. This was supposed to go out yesterday, but uh yeah, we have one episode coming out tonight with Devin K. Hansen, which is a movie director.
Oh,
Um
that means we have 2 more episodes.
yeah, so we have that one to be posted.
Yes.
Uh and then we will have our season finale with Connor doing a spoiler talk of
Yes. Then you
No
can
Way
bring
Home.
all your spoiler conversations
Yeah,
for
and then you come
discussion.
in and talk about all the things that you loved about the movie and all the things you hate about the movie, um, and we can have an open conversation there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think.
Well, guys,
Do you have anything else to add? No.
no. Thanks everybody for watching us. Join us live. I know it's been a while since haven't done live show, and there's probably reasons for that. I don't know if people who watched it earlier will notice this. Gato didn't have audio.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I didn't realize till like 5 minutes in you didn't have audio. But anyway, that's the problem with
I.
live.
Well,
Anyway,
it's
once
what
again,
happened. It's tech
yeah,
difficulties. It happens.
live shows. But yeah, glad you can
Oh,
join us. We will catch you in the next one.
peace.